What gets the ball rolling then, for individuals first entering creation who would remain in a state of awareness and wouldn't be creating until they access a free will vehicle, would be a little karma given by the ears. Karma being another word for effect, the consequence of a cause or a created idea. Without individuals entering the simulator and moving straight into a ready-made experience, a cause, nothing would happen. They wouldn't be activating anything themselves. This then sends individuals off, kick-starting their process, and consciousness begins to develop. The personal self begins to become more so, and individuals spin off along various branches of animal species, according to the initial experience or karma they walk into. Suggesting the experience may be different for each to ensure a greater diversity of species, suggesting too that although in a state of awareness at this stage, the awareness still is housed in a created vehicle with all the 5 bodies, the emotional, mental, etc. And although animals are not creating ideas along the lines of thinking or consideration, they are not mulling over the past or pondering the future. They will still be reacting to situations. Fear, for example, when attacked by a predatory animal. Anger, when another male tries to steal the mate off the individual, etc. As emotions are as much causes or ideas that create effects and experiences as thoughts and imagination. So emotional reactions of rage, anger, fear, etc. are creational causes that result in the experience reflecting the nature of the emotion. It suggests then that the initial karmic experience may well set the stage for the particular type of species an individual will go along the lines of. If an individual walks into the initial experience that is perhaps fear-based, this will stimulate fear in the individual, and the consequent effect that follows a fear-driven idea will be an experience of fear. The individual then may continually follow along the lines of being the sort of species preyed upon. And the same applies with predatory species. Perhaps their initial experience was more aggressively stimulating. So we have all our diversity, and eventually the consciousness reaches a certain point. Consciousness, although created and of a simulator, will evolve and develop after millions of lifetimes as body forms in states of awareness, besides the emotional idea reactions that keep individuals progressing through the animal species, individuals will have amassed much by way of data in their causal vehicles. This is an aspect of the created self that stores every experience, every lifetime an individual has ever had since entering the simulation. For individuals with free will and disconnected from the state of awareness they would have had as pre-free will animals, the causal body would be inaccessible, as most individuals fully immersed in their usual emotionally indulging idea creating and thrill experience chasing will be predominantly then focused only on the physical and astral parts of their created selves, without awareness to access the parts of themselves that stores all their past life experiences, though they may well dream and have déjà vu and such, which can be flashbacks to past lives. Some people can retain knowledge of lives lived previously, depending on how they have set up their created personal selves. Everything is possible in creation after all, and simply requires decision for it to be so. As animals in states of awareness, they will not be chasing and creating in this same way, churning out endless ideas of generally an emotional nature. They will naturally then far better have access to the complete package that is their created selves, the 5 body vehicles. They will be able to access the causal body and all the experiences it houses. They won't understand what they are. They won't consider and understand these to be past lifetimes. To the animal, it will simply be information available to it, and when it has a certain experience, it will react according to these past experiences, these references on how to best deal with the same situations. We will all do this much the same way, even with our free will in effect, and our disconnection from awareness. We will respond to situations in the way that has worked best, drawing from our causal library of references, without consciously realizing we are doing so. Unless the experience is something completely new, then we haven't any reference to draw from. We have to exact a new response to deal with a new experience, or maybe a response that is effective enough, even if the experience is beyond that we have ever encountered before. Most people's experiences remain relatively standard, as part of the control system is to restrict those enslaved into considering and projecting ideas of an equally restricting and limiting nature. Consciousness always seeks to expand, to grow, if you will, and it does so by creating something, by producing ideas it never has before, and effecting a new experience consequently. Then it must deal with something it had no reference for, no file it can draw from in its causal body database, and consequently it steps then beyond what it has always been. If you only create what you always have, you'll only experience what you always have. Your consciousness becomes stagnant and ceases expansion. In animal forms we are not restricted. We are not agreeing with ideas that will limit us, and that will limit then our experience, and flatline our consciousness from expanding. So in such animal body types, we naturally will progress from species to species, never lingering long, for always our consciousness moves us along. We cultivate an experience beyond which we have causal data to draw from, and as such our consciousness must expand. It must become more so than it currently is, to deal with something we have no reference for. This explains why animals have the innate knowledge of things they could not have known, how to raise young, how to build nests, how to mate, etc. They are naturally coming into an experience they have causal data for, and drawing upon their database of information, and dealing with an experience they have been through before. At some point then, it seems, consciousness reaches a point where it has an over-saturation of references, of experiences from the various animal body forms it has been through. But as consciousness ever seeks to expand, and it cannot expand any further by being in embodiments that are in states of awareness that only react emotionally, it tends to take on a body form that has free will. It's possible that as an animal we are just emotionally reacting, using the emotional vehicle as an experience generator. At some point then, it follows that we begin to use the mental vehicle. Reaching experiential saturation with emotionally reactive only animal forms, the cranking up of the mental vehicle will be next. If consciousness develops according to new experiences we have no references for, then we must have caused an effect or experience into actuality that was of such a nature that the mental vehicle is now required. A situation or experience that requires mental consideration, perhaps the utilizing consciously of memory, to access an experience we have had in this lifetime that we require to bring about a favourable result in a current moment or situation. Most animals will simply be and react. They deal with situations as they walk into them. But if an animal is able to deal with a situation more effectively by cranking up the mental vehicle, this would have it begin to utilise the full capacity of the created self. What if a bird liked a particular seed, but this seed was very difficult to crack open? Then one day it accidentally dropped the seed on a road. A car ran over it, and the seed was readily available. No pecking required. A new experience for the bird. No reference to draw upon, but a favourable outcome. A situation, however, that had elements within it never before experienced, and which moves the consciousness along, shifts it more so than before, to the point where the bird can now access the mental vehicle. Maybe another bird would never consider this situation. Maybe it would drop the seed in the same way, have the car run over it, and have favourable access then to the opened seed. But maybe it would simply go back to pecking at the hard seeds the way it has always done, falling back to its references, the experiences it always has drawn upon. Or another bird, having this same experience, may go with its new consciousness and not step back. Indeed, it draws upon the memory of this seed cracking by car experience and drops another seed on the road. Now we have a bird who isn't simply in a state of awareness, isn't reacting with emotion only. It is utilising its mental faculties. It has perhaps created its first ever thought idea, and the effect follows. It maybe has another, more easily accessible seed, courtesy of a car, that has driven over it as it drops it in the car's path in the same way. And we can see animals who, perhaps inadvertently, through the experience generated via their emotional output to experience, may find themselves as a pet, or in a circus, or a laboratory, as examples where they must perform tricks. I'm not advocating this kind of treatment. However, the individual has decided this experience based on its previous emotional idea creations, and now it is utilising aspects of its personal vehicle never used before. What of gorillas, who learn how to paint, to speak with sign language? These are not the actions of a being who is in a state of awareness and simply deals with situations as they unfold, but more so a being whose consciousness has caused an experience in which the mental vehicle now is being used. I suggest all animals who display rudimentary utilising of the mental vehicle, in whatever form this will take, For these individuals, they will now be projecting future lifetime body types that will be in such experiences never before encountered by the individual, that encourage and demand full use of the entire created personal self.